Emily arrived at the Galactic Academy without ceremony. No crowd waited for her. No welcome screen showed her name. The transport doors closed behind her with a soft hiss, and the sound echoed longer than it should have. The hallway lights were dim and white, not warm, not cold, just empty. She carried one bag. It was not heavy, but it held everything she owned now. Her name had been added late to the records. She was a replacement. Another human student had been assigned to the dorm before her, but that student no longer existed in the system. No explanation was given. The file simply ended as if someone had pressed delete and moved on. Emily did not ask questions. She had learned long ago that some doors stayed closed. The dorm building rose like a block of smooth stone, tall and silent. It was designed for many species but not with humans in mind. The air was thin and cool. The lights stayed low to avoid stressing sensitive eyes. The walls absorbed sound. Footsteps vanished instead of echoing. It felt like a place meant to forget people. Emily followed the room number displayed on her wrist screen. Each step felt watched, though she saw no one. She reached her assigned door and paused. The panel scanned her hand, hesitated for a second too long, then unlocked. Inside the room was bare. A bed folded into the wall. A desk bolted to the floor. One narrow window showed a distant curve of space and faint stars. The temperature was set lower than any human would choose. The air smelled clean but empty, like a room that had never been lived in. Emily stood still for a moment. Then she set her bag down. Across the hall, behind a tinted wall panel, 3 humans watched quietly. James leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He was tall and broad, and the dorm made him look even bigger. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had been at the academy longer than most humans, long enough to learn when not to speak. Michael sat on the floor, back against the wall, holding a small data pad. He pretended to read, but his eyes kept flicking toward Emily's door. He frowned slightly, not in anger but in concern. Jessica stood near the corner, half hidden. She had learned how to be invisible here. Her posture was relaxed, but her hands were tight at her sides. They had all heard the news. Another human replacement. "She won't last," Michael said quietly. James did not answer right away. Jessica watched the door. "None of them do," she said. "The dorm isn't built for us." James shifted his weight. "Some try." Michael gave a short laugh. "Trying isn't the problem." They had seen it before. Humans assigned to mixed dorms often left within weeks. Some transferred. Some returned home. Some simply disappeared from schedules and records, just like the student Emily was replacing. Inside her room, Emily opened her bag. She moved slowly, carefully, as if she had all the time in the universe. She placed her clothes into the narrow storage slot, folding each item neatly. She adjusted the bed panel until it felt right. She tapped the wall controls and raised the temperature by one small unit, not enough to trigger alerts. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked around. The room did not feel hostile. It felt unsure. Emily breathed in and out, steady and calm. She did not know she was being watched. Later that cycle, the dorm entered its quiet phase. Lights dimmed further. Movement slowed. Many non-human students rested in silence, their bodies sensitive to noise and change. Emily lay on her bed, staring at the faint stars outside the window. The cold pressed into her bones, but she did not complain. She pulled the thin blanket closer and closed her eyes. In the hours that followed, the dorm observed her. Sensors tracked her breathing. Stayed even. Her heart rate remained steady. No distress signals triggered. No emergency calls were made. The system flagged her as stable. James checked the public logs the next day. Emily's name was still marked with a temporary status. Replacement. Review pending. "She's quiet," Jessica said as they watched Emily walk through the common hall. "Too quiet." Emily moved with purpose but not speed. She nodded politely at passing students even when they did not look back. Some alien residents paused when she passed, their bodies stiff, their eyes following her movements. Humans were known for noise, for heat, for unpredictability. Emily was none of those things. She sat alone during meal hours, choosing food that required little adjustment. She cleaned her area when she left, even though no rule required it. She learned the dorm's rhythm and matched it without complaint. Michael noticed first. "She's adapting," he said. James watched Emily adjust a flickering light panel in the hall. She did not call maintenance. She simply fixed it with careful hands and moved on. "Or she's pretending," James said. Jessica frowned. Why would she pretend? James did not answer. That night, Emily returned to her room. The temperature had dropped again. The system had reset it to default. She paused, then tapped the control once more. Just 1 unit warmer. She sat at her desk and opened a small photo she kept hidden in her bag. It showed a place far away. A simple room. Warm light. Laughter frozen in time. She closed it and placed it face down. Emily did not cry. Across the hall, James leaned against the wall again. "She hasn't complained once," he said. Michael shook his head. "That's worse." Jessica looked at Emily's door. "Or maybe," she said softly, "she knows how to survive." The dorm systems updated silently. Emily's status remained unchanged. Temporary. Replacement. Unnoticed, the dorm recorded something new. For the first time since the previous human vanished, the empty room was no longer empty. The tension did not arrive all at once. It grew slowly, like a quiet pressure that no one could name. The dorm had rules meant to keep peace between many species. Light levels stayed low. Sound was limited. Smells were filtered until they barely existed. For most residents, this was comfort. For humans, it felt like living inside a held breath. Emily felt it every day. She woke before the dorm lights shifted, her body still used to brighter mornings. She moved carefully, keeping her steps soft. She did not slam drawers. She did not hum. She learned which floor panels creaked and stepped around them. Still, small human things slipped through. One evening, Emily adjusted the light above her desk just a little higher so she could read. The glow leaked under her door, warm and yellow. It was enough. A nearby alien student paused in the hall, skin tightening in alarm. The dorm system registered the change in light and sent a warning pulse through the network. Across the common room, David noticed. David was human, older than most students, with calm eyes and slow movements. He had learned how to watch without being seen. He saw the light flicker, saw the alien student hesitate, and felt the tension tighten. Lauren stood beside him, arms folded. She was human too, smaller than David, with sharp attention. She followed his gaze. "That's Emily's room," Lauren said quietly. David nodded. She didn't mean to. The warning passed. The light dimmed again. Emily did not argue with the system. She simply turned her desk lamp off and moved closer to the window, using the stars for light. Another day, Emily brought food from the human section into the shared dining space. It smelled warm and familiar. Bread. Spices. Comfort. The smell spread faster than expected. Several alien students froze mid-motion. One backed away, alarmed by the unfamiliar scent. Another sent a quiet signal for environmental correction. Emily noticed immediately. "I'm sorry," she said, even though no one had spoken to her. She sealed the container and stood. She took her meal back to her room without complaint. She ate alone, sitting on the edge of her bed. No report was filed. David watched from a distance, his jaw tight. "She shouldn't have to do that," he muttered. Lauren shook her head. "She's choosing to." That night, quiet music drifted through the walls. It was soft, barely there. A human melody played low enough that Emily could almost imagine it instead of hearing it. The dorm reacted anyway. Sensors detected irregular sound patterns. Alerts prepared to trigger. Emily stopped the music before the system could respond. She sat still, hands folded, listening to the silence return. She did not curse. She did not raise her voice. She simply adjusted. Over time, the dorm noticed something else. Emily fixed things. A broken chair in the common area wobbled and threatened to collapse under certain weights. No one used it. Reporting it would have taken days. Emily knelt beside it one evening, tightened the joint with a small tool, and tested it carefully. She wiped the surface clean and left. A temperature vent malfunctioned in a shared hall, blasting cold air stronger than normal. Alien residents avoided the area. Emily wrapped her hands in cloth, adjusted the vent manually, and lowered the flow. She logged a polite note for maintenance and walked away. She never took credit. David noticed the chair first. He sat down, expecting the usual tilt, and felt solid support instead. He blinked, surprised. Lauren noticed the vent. She paused in the hall, feeling the air, then looked around. Emily was already gone. "She keeps fixing things," Lauren said. David nodded. "Without telling anyone." "Why?" David thought for a moment. "Because she wants to live here." Tension still existed. Some alien students watched Emily closely. Others avoided her completely. Humans were unpredictable, they said. Too warm. Too loud. Too emotional. Emily heard none of this directly. She shared space without demanding it. One evening, she sat at a common table alone, not eating, just reading. James passed by and slowed. "You're in a shared area?" he said quietly. You don't have to hide in your room. Emily looked up and smiled, small and calm. I'm not hiding. James studied her face. You know they're uncomfortable. Emily closed her book. I know. And you're still here. She nodded. Yes. James said nothing more and walked on. Later, a small incident tested everything. The dorm's meal printer malfunctioned during a busy cycle. Food options locked. Confusion spread. Alien students clustered in silence, unsure what to do. Some species could not miss meals without harm. The system lagged. Emily arrived carrying her own food container. She saw the problem immediately. She opened the printer panel and studied the display. She did not force it open. She did not hit it. She followed the steps slowly, one by one. David and Lauren watched from across the room. Should we stop her? Lauren asked. David shook his head. Watch. Emily reset the sequence gently, speaking aloud in a calm voice, even though no one had asked her to. The printer hummed, paused, then unlocked. Food options returned. No alarms sounded. Alien students stared. Emily stepped back. It should work now, she said softly. She took her food and moved aside, letting others go first. That mattered. The next cycles felt different. Lights in shared spaces warmed by a fraction. No one announced the change. It simply happened. Meal tables shifted. Humans and non-humans began to sit closer, not together but near enough to share the same space. No one panicked when Emily passed. Lauren noticed first. It feels easier, she said. David nodded. She made it easier. Emily returned to her room that night. The temperature held steady. The system did not reset it. She sat on her bed, surprised. Across the dorm, quiet adjustments continued. The dorm was not friendly. But it was no longer hostile. The alarm began as a low sound, almost gentle, like a distant warning meant for someone else. Emily felt it before she understood it. The air changed. The lights flickered once, then settled into a dull red. Her wrist screen lit up with symbols she had only seen in training. Radiation surge. External storm. Shelter protocol active. Then the doors locked. Metal seals slid into place throughout the dorm. Hallways closed. Vents shifted. The building tightened itself like a body bracing for pain. Emily stood in her room, still and listening. Then the second alarm sounded. Louder. Sharper. Panic followed. Across the dorm, alien students reacted fast and hard. Some dropped to the floor, curling into protective shapes. Others rushed for sealed alcoves built into the walls. Voices rose in sharp tones, full of fear. To many species, radiation meant sickness, death, or slow damage that never healed. Emily opened her door and stepped into the hall. James appeared at the far end, eyes wide. Storm hit early, he said. Before Emily could answer, the floor shook. Not enough to knock anyone down, but enough to break calm. A non-human student collapsed near the junction, legs weak with fear. Emily ran. She knelt beside the student, speaking slowly. You're safe here. Breathe with me. The student did not understand her words, but understood her tone. The shaking eased enough for Emily to help them sit upright. John and Ashley arrived from the opposite hall. John was tall and fast, his face tight with focus. Ashley stayed close, eyes scanning for danger. They were human too, and they understood at once what was happening. Dorm locked, John said. Some areas didn't seal right. Ashley pointed. Shelter pods near the lower wing. But people are stuck. Emily stood. We move them. Calmly. Another jolt shook the walls. Lights dimmed further. The system voice spoke at last, flat and cold. Remain in place. Await clearance. Emily looked at the trapped students in the hall. Waiting would hurt them. She pulled a small tool from her pocket, the same one she used for simple repairs. It was nothing special. Just a basic multi-tool. Michael appeared near the stairwell, holding his data pad. His hands shook, but he kept recording. Emily, he called. Storm levels rising. I know, she said. Keep the door logs. John moved to her side. Tell us what to do. Emily took a breath. She did not shout. We guide them, she said. No running. One group at a time. Ashley, take the left hall. John with me. Ashley nodded and moved. Emily approached a cluster of alien students frozen in fear. Their skin patterns flashed warning colors. Their bodies trembled. She raised her hands slowly so they could see them. Follow me, she said, pointing gently. Safe place. Slow. Some did not understand her words, but they saw her calm. She walked first, not rushing, trusting them to follow. They did. A sealed door blocked the way. The control panel flickered, confused by the storm. Emily knelt and opened it with her tool, adjusting the latch by hand. The seal released with a soft click. No sparks. No alarms. The group passed through. John guided another student who could not walk well, lifting carefully, mindful of fragile limbs. Ashley's voice echoed from the other hall, steady and clear. This way. You're doing fine. Radiation levels climbed. The system voice repeated warnings. The dorm shook again, harder this time. Michael swallowed and kept recording. An alien childlike student cried out, sound sharp and piercing. Emily turned at once, crouching low to meet their eyes. You're not alone, she said softly. I'm here. She placed her body between the student and the wall, shielding without thinking. More students reached the shelter pods. The heavy doors closed behind them one by one. Then the worst moment came. A main corridor door failed completely, stuck half-sealed. Radiation shielding was weak there. Red warnings flashed. Emily saw it and ran. Emily, wait. Michael shouted. She did not. She jammed her tool into the control seam and forced the panel open just enough. The effort burned her hands, but she held on. John and Ashley dragged the last students through. The door slammed shut. Emily stumbled back, breathing hard. Silence fell, broken only by the low hum of the shelter systems. Everyone waited. Minutes passed. Then the lights shifted from red to yellow. Storm passing. The system voice returned, uncertain. Emergency phase ending. Relief spread slowly. Shelter doors opened. Alien students emerged, shaken but alive. They looked at Emily. Some bowed their heads. Others simply stared, eyes wide with something new. Trust. Michael lowered his data pad, hands still shaking. For the first time, he said quietly, they listened. Emily sat against the wall, exhausted. We all did, she replied. The dorm systems updated again. This time they did not mark humans as a risk. They marked them as support. The officials arrived without warning. One moment, the dorm was returning to its usual quiet rhythm. The next, sleek transports hovered outside the main entrance, their markings sharp and formal. Authority had come. Emily was in the common hall when the message spread. Academy Review Team. Full investigation. All residents required to remain available. She felt her stomach tighten just a little. Investigations rarely helped humans. Daniel arrived soon after, straight-backed and serious. He was not loud, not dramatic. He was known for following rules carefully, and the Academy trusted people like him. He had been assigned as a witness liaison for the dorm. James, Michael, Jessica, David, Lauren, John, and Ashley gathered near the wall, quiet but alert. Alien students stayed farther back, watching with careful eyes. Officials moved through the halls, scanning walls, reading logs, asking short questions. Their faces showed no emotion. Their voices were calm, distant. They did not look at Emily at first. In a sealed meeting room, Daniel sat across from 3 officials. A screen behind them played fragments of recorded data. Time stamps. Sensor readings. Door logs. Environmental shifts. Describe what you observed, one official said. Daniel nodded. During the radiation storm, the system failed in several areas. Panic followed. Humans responded first. Define responded, another official said. Daniel did not rush. They assisted others. They guided residents to shelter. They avoided force. The screen shifted. A clip played of Emily kneeling beside a frozen student, her movements slow and calm. Who authorized this action? The official asked. No one, Daniel said honestly. She chose it. The officials exchanged brief looks. Michael was called next. His hands shook as he placed his data pad on the table. These are my recordings, he said. Raw data. No edits. The footage played in silence. Emily opening stuck panels. Emily stepping aside to let others go first. Emily shielding a smaller body during the worst search. One official paused the video. She disobeyed shelter protocol, they said. Yes, Michael replied, voice tight. But protocol would have failed them. The official studied him. That is not your judgment to make. No, Michael said. But it is what happened. Emily waited outside the room, sitting quietly. She did not rehearse answers. She did not prepare excuses. She watched the floor lights change slowly as cycles passed. When she was finally called in, the room felt colder than usual. She stood straight, hands relaxed at her sides. Emily, one official said. Your file lists you as a replacement assignment. Temporary. Yes, she said simply. Why did you intervene during the storm? Another asked. Emily thought for a moment. People needed help. That is not a sufficient answer. It's the true one, she replied. A pause followed. You altered environmental systems, the official continued. You bypassed locks. You risked exposure. Emily nodded. Yes. Why? She looked up. Because waiting would have hurt them. The officials watched her carefully. You understand, one said, that the Academy values order. Emily met their gaze. I understand that order is meant to protect people. Silence filled the room. After she was dismissed, the officials continued their review. They spoke with alien residents next. At first, responses were cautious. Short. Formal. Then something shifted. One student described how Emily had spoken calmly without pressure. Another explained how her presence had slowed panic. A third admitted that seeing a human stay instead of flee had changed how they felt. She did not act like a threat, one alien resident said. She acted like shelter. That word appeared in the logs. Shelter. The officials gathered their data. They reviewed system requests sent after the storm. One request stood out. Dormitory Unit 7B had submitted a formal petition. Request: retain current human resident. Reason: stability improved. Risk reduced. Social harmony increased. The officials read it twice. This is unusual, one said. It is unprecedented, another replied. They checked Emily's file again. Replacement. Temporary. Pending removal. One official tapped the screen. The word flickered. Then it disappeared. When the officials finally addressed the dorm, everyone gathered in the common space. Emily stood near the back. The investigation is complete, the lead official said. The dorm's response during the radiation event has been reviewed. Silence. Errors were found, the official continued. System failures. Protocol gaps. Emily felt her shoulders tense. But, the official added, individual actions prevented loss. Eyes turned toward Emily. The human resident known as Emily acted with care, restraint, and awareness of others, the official said. These actions reduced harm. No one spoke. The dorm has requested her continued placement, the official said. The Academy accepts. A soft sound passed through the room. Not cheers. Just relief. Emily blinked, surprised. Her status has been updated, the official finished. She is no longer listed as a replacement. The officials left soon after, their transports lifting away without ceremony. The dorm felt different in their absence. Daniel approached Emily first. You did well, he said simply. Emily shook her head. We all did. James nodded from nearby. Michael smiled, tired but proud. David and Lauren exchanged quiet looks. Alien residents did not avoid Emily now. Some nodded. One offered a small gesture of thanks. Emily returned to her room that night. Her wrist screen glowed softly. Status: resident. No extra notes. No warnings. Just one word removed. Replacement. And in its absence, something solid remained. The change did not happen all at once. Like most important things in the dorm, it happened quietly. The lights shifted first. Not bright, not harsh, just warmer. A softer color filled the halls, closer to sunlight than sterile white. No announcement explained it. No rule update followed. The lights simply stayed that way. Emily noticed when she stepped into the common hall one morning and felt her shoulders relax without meaning to. She paused, looking up. That's new, she said softly. James stood near the wall, arms folded as usual. He followed her gaze and nodded. Dorm request approved, he said. Minor adjustments. Minor did not feel like the right word. Shared hours came next. Before, schedules had been strict. Species stayed apart to avoid stress. Humans ate late or early, alone or in small groups. Now, blocks of shared time appeared in the system. Optional, but open. Emily sat at a long table during the first shared meal window. She expected to be alone. She was not. Michael arrived with a tray and hesitated. Is this okay? Emily smiled. It's a table. He sat. Jessica joined them next as a replacement present and changed the Galactic dorm forever. John and Ashley arrived laughing softly, stopping themselves halfway and lowering their voices. Across the room, alien students watched. No one complained. One alien student approached slowly, tray held close. They stopped near the edge of the table, unsure. Emily looked up. You can sit here, she said gently. The student studied her face, then nodded and sat. Nothing bad happened. Conversation stayed simple. Small words. Slow pace. Enough space for silence. That mattered. The halls opened next. Some internal doors that once closed automatically during rest cycles now stayed open longer. Paths became easier. Corners felt less like traps and more like choices. Emily walked those halls often, not to fix anything this time but to exist. She became a normal sight. Not a problem. Not a replacement. Just Emily. Across the academy, reports circulated. Quiet updates. Data without drama. Dorm 7B showed reduced conflict markers. Stress responses lowered. Cross-species cooperation increased. Humans listed as contributing factor. That line was read twice by more than one official. Daniel reviewed the reports in his office, eyes thoughtful. He forwarded them upward without comment. The data spoke well enough on its own. In the dorm, life continued. Emily sat on the floor one evening with Ashley, tools spread out between them. They worked on a broken panel together, laughing softly when a piece snapped back into place too fast. "Still think you're temporary?" Ashley asked. Emily shook her head. "No." John passed by and tossed her a drink. "Family meeting later," he said. "Don't be late." Emily caught it easily. Wouldn't miss it. The word family stayed with her. Later that cycle, they gathered in the common space. Humans and non-humans alike. Some sat. Some stood. Some rested against walls. No one had called it a meeting. It simply happened. David spoke quietly about schedules. Lauren suggested a shared quiet hour with music allowed at low levels. An alien resident added a note about lighting balance. James listened more than he spoke. Emily watched it all with a small smile. This was not her fixing things. This was everyone doing it together. Michael recorded nothing this time. He sat with his data pad closed, hands relaxed. "Feels strange," he said. Jessica nodded. "Good strange." The dorm systems adjusted again that night. Light warmth held steady. Temperature balanced itself between needs. Sound filters softened. No alarms triggered. Emily returned to her room and sat on her bed, looking out at the stars. She thought of the empty room she had first entered. Cold, quiet, ready to forget her. It no longer felt like that. She pulled out the old photo again. She looked at it for a long time this time. Then she placed it face up on her desk. Across the academy, other dorms noticed the changes. Questions followed. How did Dorm 7B reduce incidents? Why were humans listed as stabilizing? What had changed? The answer was simple but difficult to accept. A human had stayed. Not to take control. Not to replace what was lost. But to care. The truth spread slowly from report to report, from quiet conversation to quiet conversation. Humans do not replace what is lost. They rebuild what was broken. Back in the dorm, Emily sat at the shared table again, surrounded by voices, by warmth, by life. She was not a guest. She was home. And the dorm had learned.